welcome to the second episode of my Dialysis Life, episode 2, which is labeled as Recliner Time. Originally I was going to call it Recliner Life, but it's 4 hours, and this is probably the one thing that you can best encapsulate in your life going forward. 3 times a week, you are sequestered in a chair for 4 hours. Consider it like being on an airline flight. You get on, you take the ride for 4 hours, and if all goes well, you get off at the right time and in the right place. Sometimes these matters change, but it's a matter of individual responses to treatment on individual days. So no predictions for you there. Oh dear. I'd like to begin by saying that there is no medical advice on this. So why no medical advice? I'll review that in just a moment. This episode will be specific to the time you spend after leaving the lobby while you're in the treatment area to the time when you get back out. There are going to be a specific list of things that will perhaps not in the same sequence in every dialysis center, but there'll be some highlights that are always going to be common to any visit. Once you've arrived at the reception area, you may have an opportunity to be seated for a while should you need to do so. I take advantage of the opportunity to stretch my legs a little bit because I've been in my car for an hour. On your initial visits to dialysis, I strongly recommend you have someone else drive you, at least for the first 2 to 3 weeks of 3 times a week treatment. In any case, once you've arrived early, you have an opportunity to pee if you are still able to do so. And the reason you should make sure you do so is one, you've got 4 hours ahead of you where you will be mostly pinned down. And two, that amount of fluid you're carrying weighs against you in terms of the amount of fluid that they will extract from you. The more exact you can be on what they extract, the more likely it is you're going to avoid discomforts such as cramping or nausea. So, and it's once you are called in, and this will be by a technician, the first thing you're going to do is going to go to a weigh station so they can obtain a beginning weight for your session. The threshold into the treatment area, you really have to be on your own. If you're in a wheelchair, you can be rolled in by one of the technicians, and they'll get you through the threshold where you say goodbye to folks who are not directly experiencing treatment. It's going to be the case 99% of the time. Most dialysis facilities, I expect you'll find either a built-in scale, such as the two left, show it to the left of my image here, or you will find a roll-on, roll-off scale. In either case, you're going to have your weight recorded in metric, or that is in kilograms and tenths of kilograms or decigrams. So if you have a wheelchair that you've arrived in, what they'll do is they'll take your weight in the wheelchair, deliver you to the recliner, take your wheelchair back, get the weight for that, and subtract it. Similarly, other things that are worth subtracting for are your shoes. I like to know what the weight of the shoes are. I have some pairs that weigh as much as 1.4 kilograms, wintertime wear, and it comes with me wherever I go. I'm not changing shoes in the lobby of a soggy building, or a soggy entryway in any case, not a building, just the entryway. If you can see the second picture, the one in the center, between me and the wheelchair view, is of a person wearing pajamas and a bathrobe and holding the rails there and slippers. I find that an unlikely get up. Most people will arrive in street clothes. But one of the things that person is doing is observing their weight. The technician should record it, but should you get the weight on your own, or if there's a question of it, having paid attention while being weighed will pay off. After your way in, you'll be escorted to your recliner or bed, whichever you have been elected to be in. The technician is going to do that. They will also take your first blood pressure. Usually they'll establish with you at that time what arm you prefer to have at the blood pressure cuff. I prefer to have it on the arm that is closest to the dialysis machine. That way all the cords and tubes that are in front of me are all going in the same direction. That is, of course, because of by wearing a catheter rather than having a fistula. I've got this now. I'll probably have one of these come August. After your blood pressure check, they'll scan you for your temperature, and then once you've had a few moments to settle, they'll have you stand up and get a comparison blood pressure check standing. And then finally, before the nurse shows up, the technician will establish with you whether you're going to be using a catheter or a fistula for connection to the dialysis machine. On the left side of this image, you'll see a row of people receiving dialysis. This is a picture I got from Adobe Stock, uh, part of a subscription that I had access to. And it shows not people with plastic stools by their feet rather than in recliners. They're all in a row. I think it's machine, then person, then machine, then person. And that's an unusual layout, at least by my estimation. They have a technician station between every other dialysis station where I attend, and the nurses are usually the technicians actually will make certain that you are in a position where likely your feet are up. Keeping that reduces your blood pressure and reduces the likelihood if you increases that is the likelihood of you having an effective dialysis session. So I'm not going to. I don't think you're going to see any place that looks exactly like that picture. The technician will convey to your nurse that you are ready and that they have the base statistics for beginning of your session. The nurse should come around with a detail sheet or a laptop or some other workstation that will have your background details, including what is called a goal weight. In any case, the nurse will first verify your vitals to look at what the tech has collected. They'll listen to your heart. They're going to listen to your lungs, and they'll do a verbal assessment of your health, including possible falls, injuries, trips to the emergency room, and genuine physical symptoms. Uh, so please pay attention to each of those questions. It's like the rundown on the airline. You should pay attention every time because your answers should be changing over time unless you are remarkably stable. Once that information is provided and the nurse has assessed your weight differential from weigh-in to goal weight, subtracted for shoes and whatever else that may factor in, wheelchair, for instance, they will negotiate with you a goal weight for fluid removal, or that is a goal volume for fluid removal. I can't give you any advice on this. It's a delicate negotiation for me. If I get it wrong, I may be getting cramps. Nurses help me avoid that, so it's a discussion, but it's probably the most individual part of the treatment. Once that's established, those details are run down to the technician who enters them into the dialysis system. So eyeballs, two sets of eyeballs, maybe even three if I can twist around far enough, are on the dialysis machine when those entries when the entries for your health requirements are entered. Uh, then it's time to connect you up, and be it whether you have a catheter or a fistula, you should mask up and they will get you connected. There'll be lots of sanitary action going on around you, or I'm saying sanitization action going around you. So give them room to work. They're taking good care of you. Once that happens, they'll tell you that you are on and it's beginning. You should be able to see fluid flowing through your tubing, and the hour has begun. Uh, One last thing is you should know where your call button is, since the first person who's going to know about you having discomfort is you. And it's astounding how when you start feeling cramps, somehow everybody who was just crowding around you before isn't quite in sight. So the call button is the polite way to do things. The other way is to just call the technician by name or a nurse passing by, say that you are having a symptom, and good things ought to happen pretty darn quick. By the time you're into hour two, you should be pretty much on cruise control. If you have needed blankets, they can bring them to you, or if you get really chilly, this can happen a lot in your initial treatments. You can request additional warm blankets. You can request a 237 milliliter beverage, or as it's better known, a 4-ounce beverage, and or some frozen water, a little bit of ice. During this period, senior medical staff is most likely to be making their rounds, so you may want to hold off on taking a nap even if you feel inclined. A TV screen may or may not be provided. And I also find that the lighting is excellent because of the medical setting for reading magazines and books and writing things out in my journal. For a future episode, I wanted to see if I can break down, like bird calls, all the different alarms you may be hearing from the machines in your various facilities. As you can probably see on the slide, napping is becoming more and more interesting as matters proceed. I find that about halfway through the second hours when I'm likely to be able to grab a nap. I'll ask for warm blankets at that time, do other things to manage my warmth and or comfort, and then often I can doze off for as much as an hour. The other thing that can happen before that little snooze will be a visit from, say, social workers or dietitians. They don't come around every day, or sometimes not only for every other week, but they are valuable to you in terms of your health, well-being, and efficiency in using the life that is being sapped by hours spent in the recliner. One of the other things I find is that by this point in time, any caffeine I might have had in my system has been well leached out. It is a known effect of dialysis to remove such novel chemicals as caffeine. So by hour three, really things usually are much on cruise control, not only with you, but if you look around you, everybody's kind of chilling. Not that I say they're not working, but it's any frenzy seems to have passed, and things are more of a steady state. The small creature comforts. Usually at the end of the third hour of dialysis is when they stop withdrawing fluid from me. So that's when the point of vulnerability to discomfort, such as cramping and nausea, pretty much passed. Or if that hasn't happened by that point in time, for me, it's at least not going to happen beyond that point. So fourth hour has begun. You're over the hump. At least I am in my circumstance. Uh, Often I'm starting to feel quite cool by then because dialysis works to keep your core temperature reduced, which thereby reduces your blood pressure, which therefore makes your dialysis more effective. So your body temperature will come down from 37 degrees centigrade to as low as 35.5, or in Fahrenheit, that's your normal is 98.6, and you can come to go down to as low as 95.9. That makes me feel chilly. So usually during a session, I'll have had two to maybe four blankets by that point in time. You can bring your own better blanket if you wish, but you got to remember it should be dander free and it can't be an electric blanket. Those things are hazardous in a controlled environment such as dialysis. So this is it. I'm waiting for to be I'm waiting to be disconnected. And we're done. The dialysis machine will show 0 time remaining on it. An alarm of a type will sound. A little white light goes off on top of the dialysis machine. The technician will come and get your temperature, take your last seated blood pressure. The nurse and the tech will work together to get you disconnected and either remove your catheter and treat your catheter connections with heparin, likely. Then cap you off, or with the case of a fistula, they'll be bandaging you up. I'll report on it when it starts occurring for me in August. They will stand you up, take a standing blood pressure as well, and if you're over, say, 100 and over 70, or better than 100, they will clear you to walk back out to or take the chair back out to the reception area, exiting the clubhouse and rejoining all those folks awaiting you out there in Mundania. I am Robert. This is my dialysis life. Please let me know of any questions, issues, concerns you have, anything you'd like me to cover in any particular order. My next episode will be about what to wear and modesty issues. We'll also be looking for any comments in the reactions to this video. I would like to remind you this is not a sponsored video. I have no revenue likely to come from this, but I don't know that the numbers will ever work out. So I'll just keep doing this as long as I can afford it out of pocket or can create some kind of a revenue stream. I'll get back to you on that if I've got one, and I'll be upfront where it stands. No revenues, no money trap here. Again, I will say, don't take any medical advice from me. Medical advice should come from your care team. And the ideas you get, pass them along. I'm sure it'll greatly entertain your care team, but don't make it like it's the gospel. They'll have that for you. See you in next episode. Oh, like, subscribe, enable notifications, and comment.